Going to Gerald Celente for the balance of this hour, joining us via video Skype as well. I'm on the road from Baton Rouge. Gerald, out of the gates, I want to get into the world economy. I want to get into all the huge developments we're seeing take place. But what do you make of Ron Paul and the fact that they admit they didn't count all the counties where he was leading in the polls in Maine, cheated him in Iowa? Ron Paul's saying, yeah, we're contesting this, but I think Ron Paul should make a bigger deal out of this. What do you think of what's going on with Ron Paul?
Well, it's what's been going on for a long time. Remember go back to the Kennedy election, for God's sakes, when they rigged it in Illinois. You know, the place where Obama's from. Go back to 2000. You remember the election and the hanging chads in Florida, the corruption in Ohio, the votes they didn't count in Iowa. I mean, come on. Doesn't anybody get it by now? And one of the problems I have with Ron Paul is that he doesn't fight back hard enough. And so it's just business as usual. But before I continue, Alex, I want to let you know, I just came back from Calgary, Canada, this morning, and I did a talk up there, and I want you to know that you have a load of fans up there. Everywhere I went, people were coming up to me, and so many of them said, please say hello to Alex Jones for me. They love your show.
Well, thank you. It is really an indicator of how many people are awake just by how anywhere I go, including here in Baton Rouge. I've had people come up to me last night and today, and I haven't run into very many people. This looks like it's a sparsely populated area where I'm at, but about half the folks I've walked by, it turns out, are listeners or familiar, and I know you're running into that yourself. So it shows there's this paradox of awakening happening, but at the same time, the system's playing like that's not happening, and it's business as usual. So where do you see this going, Gerald?
Well, the important thing is look who comes up to you, and a lot of people that come up to me. You know, they call these young people Generation Zero. I don't. I call them Generation Courage. Those are the people. You know, this is different than the old feudal days, Alex, when the kings and queens of commerce had a lot of uneducated peasants out there that they could keep grinding into the dirt. These are very educated young people. They're aware. They know what's coming down and what's going on. And they're the ones that are tuned in, and they're the ones that are going to make the difference. Because people my age, I mean, they've given up already. You know, they've sold out, they've been bought out, or they're down and out. So they don't have the fight anymore. So it's your audience and my audience that are going to make the difference. They don't want to take anybody's baloney, and they're educated enough to know what's going on. So as you began this and talking about, oh, they're having trouble, you know, counting ballots. Yeah, what's new? You know, the same political corruption gang is in control. And as I keep saying, as we're moving closer to this election, idiots are going to say, well, you know, I'm going to vote for this one or that one because they're the lesser of two evil. What self-respecting adult would vote for a lesser of two evil? Oh, it's nice getting screwed just a little bit and not a lot. So, no, the change is taking place, and it's going on globally. So, answer your question, what's going on globally? Go back to the Trends Journal a year ago, last spring. The first great war of the 21st century. How much do they have to keep beating the people down? Look what's going on in Greece. It's a harbinger. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the deal. Let's make this really straight. Okay, little boys and girls out there in mainstream media land that just by accident you may be listening today, what they call bailouts, they're not bailouts. What they are, it's more debt. You have a first mortgage, you couldn't pay that, they gave you a second mortgage. Oh, no, we'll change it. We'll call it a home equity loan. You couldn't pay the home equity loan? And if you didn't take your house and you're a country, they give you a third loan, a fourth loan, a fifth loan. It's more money to the loan sharks. All of these austerity measures are one thing and one thing only. It's the loan sharks, the money changers, want more money to pay
Exactly.
off their debts.
Exactly. Stay there. We'll be back and talk more about that straight ahead and more with Gerald Celente, trendsresearch.com. I'm Alex Jones with PrisonPlanet.tv. All right, I want to bring up a host of topics and get Gerald Celente's take on it. The TSA now operating in major cities like Dallas, you name it, doing the grope down there. And now they're saying, hey, we're not going to let you opt out. They're not announcing it, but they're doing it. You will go through a scanner and be groped, and we're going to do it on the side of the highway. I want to get into that with him. But as we went to break, he was getting more into this awakening. But, you know, the term Yankee Doodle was, if you study history, was a redcoat insult against the colonist rebels. A Yankee dandy was basically, it meant an effeminate man in a fancy outfit. Okay, a Yankee Doodle dandy. So it was a big insult. It was saying effeminate men dressed up like women. Basically, it was a sexual reference. And so the colonists said, you know what, we'll just take that name from you. We're Yankee Doodle dandies. Watch how dandy we are. Watch what we do to you. Okay, watch how we stomp your guts into the ground. And so they call young people Generation Zero. And I agree, those plugged into the New World Order, they have become zero. But zero is where you start over. Zero is where you begin. The globalists are minus a trillion. And sure, the young people are zero. They can decide they're going to go up or down. They're at that equilibrium point. That's what I have to say on that point. So I think we should take their insult name, telling younger generations like Generation X, or millennialist or anybody else that they're trash, and say, you know what, you're trash, and I'm going to make something of myself no matter what you tell me. I don't need your Ritalin, your Prozac. You may have shipped my jobs to China or Mexico, but I'm going to make the new economy. Gerald Celente.
No, you're right. Zero is starting from the beginning. And again, it's Generation Courage. And every young person out there, please understand that you create the future. And that anyone that tells you that you don't is trying to rob you of your dignity, your self-respect, and your courage. And they're trying to enslave your soul and deny from you the God that lives within you or the God that you believe in. You create the future, and if you let them create the future for you, you're not going to like it. Like you take this guy, Rick Santorum, talking about God and about I'm sick and tired of these phony Christian BSers. I've had it up to here. I'm sick of this phony little altar boy, Rick Santorum, telling me about Satan and what I have to believe. Here, Ricky, check this one out the next time you use Jesus Christ's name in vain. He wouldn't bomb Iran, you got it? He wouldn't start other wars, you little chicken hawk, with the size of cojones, about the size of a moth, a little smaller. Jesus Christ wouldn't kill other people because you don't like them, Junior. So what I'm telling the young people out there is to listen to what they're hearing and create the future that you want.
Well, very well said, Gerald. Look, I personally am a Christian. I have a real relationship with God, and I know you're... No, but I'm going to expand on what you're saying. You look at him, you can tell he's Eddie Haskell. You can tell it's totally fake. You can see him vote for the Patriot Act. You can see him support bailouts. It's all talk with these guys. It's all a big joke. It's like Newt Gingrich saying he's a Christian when he wrote stuff bad about Christians decades ago. To them, it's all an act. To them, it's totally fake. And, you know, you don't hear him talking about how the CIA is using al-Qaeda in the Arab Spring. No, it's all talk with Santorum. It's all about selling out our sovereignty, and it's disgusting. It is disgusting to see them use religion on people. I agree with you.
Yeah, and all of them. Rick Perry, Herman Cain, Michelle Bachmann. Remember, they all come up with that line, God told me to run. Hey, guess what? God struck out 0 for 3, you know? I mean, who are these people? Enough of this Jesus selling. Yeah, it's a lot of crap. But anyway, moving forward, Alex, gold prices, as we speak, just shot up $20 an ounce. Gee, wonder why. Oh, isn't this brilliant? I got a good one for you. Let's put sanctions on Iran, start tightening up the oil spigot, and all of a sudden, what's oil selling for now? Oh, $122 a barrel, Brent crude. Hey, brilliant, man. Go back 10 years ago. What was it selling for? Gee, son of a gun. $20 a barrel? You mean to tell me that oil's gone up $100 a barrel? You mean to tell me in 10 years gold gone up from $280 an ounce to $1,780 an ounce?
Well, that's actually a six-fold increase in oil. That's a almost six-fold increase. Gold, what is it, a seven-fold increase, eightfold?
So that's what you have. Now the little CNBC sellouts, you know, those guys that bow down, suck up, and eat up anything that they have to keep pumping up the markets. You know, they used to call people like me gold bugs. Why did gold and oil go up? No. It's not demand. That's only a small part of it. It's because they're devaluing the dollar. They're driving everybody into slavery. That's right. Because now interest rates are down near zero. You're being forced to put your money into these baloney equity markets. And all of you older people out there that are on Social Security, you're not going to get cost of living increases. Why not? I'll tell you why not. Because there's no inflation. I just made that oil number up, right? Because they don't add food and fuel into the core inflation index. They're devaluing the dollar, and like any good fascist country, they're cooking the numbers. Oh, and talking about fascism, you heard me say it, Alex, from the beginning. I said anyone that's calling, and this is going on for years, anyone that's calling Obama a communist, a Marxist, a socialist, you got it wrong. The merger of state and corporate powers, by definition, is called fascism. And what did Ron Paul say a couple of days ago? America's turning fascist. That's right. They're ready to enslave you. And if you don't fight back now, Jack, you're dead.
Well, Ron Paul has come out and said the CIA's had a coup in America and brings the drugs in. He has said that it's turning fascist and it's accelerating, and it is. And it's, you know, the good news is there's a silver lining in the bad. At least now we've been validated, we've been made credible. And folks, if they do actually attack Iran on the low side, oil's going to probably go to $200 a barrel, which will kill our economy for 5-6 months. It might go to $300. If they actually shut down the Strait of Hormuz, the effects of this, and now, as I said they would do, Gerald, they're hyping terror attacks in America and putting armed guards outside federal buildings, including Social Security offices, harassing citizens and saying Iran's going to attack. I think a false flag is really in the cards ahead of an attack on Iran unless we get the word out on it.
I agree. I've been going to your site. I've been seeing the great work that you've been doing, particularly the one about, oh, yeah, they're going to bomb the Statue of Liberty. Oh, yeah, right. Then the Washington Monument, you know, and then the White House. I mean, come on. And you know how they do it all the time? Every time that there's an anniversary of something, all of a sudden they close down the highways. They have checkpoints everywhere. It's fascism. That's all it is. Let's call a spade a spade. And America has turned fascist, as I predicted. And as I also forecast in the Trends Journal years ago, when they first started these bailouts, it's there for everybody to see. I said when the bailouts fail, the recovery is no recovery. The next thing they will do is take you to war. And they're ready to take us to war against Iran. And if we go to war against Iran, it's the beginning of World War III. So get out those yellow ribbons. Put up those flags. You're gonna they bought into it before, and they'll buy into it again. You know, Alex, I heard Michelle Obama out there last week going to troops and telling them to eat their broccoli and eat healthy. Oh, that's right, Michelle. So they could send them over to another fake war to get their arms blown off, their brains blown out, so that fascism could continue on the course that we've set. Because we are moving into the first great war of the 21st century. And if people don't stand up and speak out and stop it, it's going to be a terrible future.
All right, let me put something out here exactly. It's like we're going to have you clean the tank cannons and the tank guns that are full of DU, that's a death dose without even a gas mask on or without even a breathing mask, even though our own manuals say it's going to kill you. It'll take 10, 15 years, but it will. But eat your broccoli. And we're going to steal your death benefits, which they signed secret deals 12 years ago to do. But because we say we love you and, oh, thank you for your service, thank you for your service. It's all this fakeness as the criminals, just like they wrap themselves in Jesus, they wrap themselves in the troops. But you mentioned an article 2 days ago by Kurt Nemo. I think the guys have their microphone open there at the network, guys. Continuing, sorry. Former CIA boss says Iran will attack Statue of Liberty. And I didn't even cover this 2 days ago. When Kurt first wrote the article, and it was linked all over the news, you know, them saying this like it was serious. I've seen James Woolsey speak at UT in person. I've watched him on the news. He has absolutely no credibility and comes off like a scam artist, con artist. If I was going to hire somebody in a movie to play the part of a disingenuous scam artist, or something, I would have somebody like James Woolsey as the character. And here he is. They want to blow up the Statue of Liberty, this archetypal image of what the bad guys are going to do. Gerald, give us your take on that, because, I mean, you mentioned it. It is so ridiculous.
Yeah, again, it's a false flag. Hey, Alex, you know that Saddam Hussein?
And that's what I thought might have been going on with the back talk and chatter. Did we lose Gerald Celente?
No, I'm here. You hear me? Hello? Hello, Alex? You know, when you mention Woolsey, whatever his name is, I mean, they're all scam artists. Look at the guy that's the head of the CIA now, Petraeus. The New York Times, he was the former general that was going to win Afghanistan. They used to say that, oh, he had a Boy Scout charm. Oh, isn't that wonderful, a Boy Scout charm? Just what you need. It's all a con game. Look at the meetings that they have over in Brussels as they're raging Greece into poverty. You see Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, all of these other flunkies, they have red carpets rolled out for them. No, the whole thing is a charade, and that's what people need to know. And you mentioned, you know, I was thinking of the word when you hear Santorum. This other guy over there, Christie over in New Jersey, all these people talking about Jesus Christ, Perry, Bachman, all of them, Gingrich, you know what they are? They're Jesus freaks, because Jesus would freak out if he saw what they were doing in the name of his good name and how they're degrading it. So I want to make this clear, Alex. You're looking at gold prices going up. You're looking at oil prices going up, and if people aren't prepared for what's going to happen next, it's their fault. And I'm making it very clear, I do not give financial advice, but if you have your money in the bank, if you think Charlie Schwab is taking care of you, you deserve what you get if your dough isn't in your pocket, or for me, in precious metals.
Gerald, you're absolutely right. Continue breaking down where you see this going because, I mean, again, seeing that, Gerald, you've been accurate predicting what they're doing, and they come up with these cartoonish type deals. I remember Fox News 6 years ago showed images from that was Independence Day where the aliens are blowing up all the monuments. And they actually showed a video from the film with the alien craft blowing up the Liberty Tower. But the tower wasn't even called Liberty, so they called it Liberty Tower, even though the building wasn't called that, because it sounded better, and then showed the building blowing up and said, Al-Qaeda wants to blow up Liberty Tower. They want to blow up Liberty. I mean, they go to the most sophomoric Hollywood, popcorn deal, Al-Qaeda, who openly works for these same criminal bankers, and the CIA, Mossad, MI6, Al-Qaeda is going to blow up the Statue of Liberty with just no evidence. And it's a guy that looks so shifty, he makes Eddie Haskell and Hitler look like good guys.
Well, again, you mentioned the word Hollywood, and that's all politics is. It's show business for ugly people. How could Americans have any respect for themselves when they look at the cast of clowns in the presidential reality show that are going to tell them how to run their lives? Oh, by the way, the other term I've had it with are these people calling themselves lawmakers. Hey, listen, Junior, I don't need anybody to make any more laws for me. So when you look at what's going on, it's Hollywood. It's one cheap show. And we've proven, Alex, we sent out a trend alert about a month ago. We did a major story. Here it is in the Trends Journal. The thorium alternative. You know how they're screaming about Iran is going to have a nuclear facility, and from that they could make, with the uranium, they could turn it into weapons. Well, here's the story. When they began nuclear power back in the late 50s and 60s, they had two alternatives to go to: uranium or thorium. With uranium, the waste byproduct, the feedstock, could be used to make nuclear weapons. Now, those of us old enough to remember, that was during the height of the Cold War, when the imbeciles had you hiding under desks as a little kid, or putting your
hands... Tell you what, stay there, Gerald. Sorry to interrupt. Come back and explain that they chose uranium because that was going to be the byproduct of the weapons industry instead of the thorium, which they can't make nuclear weapons out of and is a lot safer. On the other side with Gerald Celente, and I do intend to try to jam in a few phone calls as well. We are back live. I'm on the road. Gerald Celente joins us via video connection and Skype audio for radio listeners from channel 166 XM to over 100 AM and FM affiliates. And I do want to try to get to some of these calls, but I know we can't do too much overdrive. Gerald was very kind to come on despite the fact he just got off an airplane this morning. Gerald, you were explaining the difference between the types of reactors they could have built versus the uranium-based systems.
That's right. So that really, by going with thorium, you can't use it to make the waste product. You can't use to make a nuclear weapon. So, of course, back in the 60s, when the whole world was, the Cold War was going on, they wanted to make nuclear weapons. Well, now in China, in India, in Brazil, in the Czech Republic, they're all developing nuclear power plants with the eye toward thorium. So we can all chill out now if Iran simply goes with thorium rather than nuclear. Is it ready to go? No, but it's almost ready to go. So if the United States, for example, that just spent $1 trillion fighting an immoral war, killing 1 million people, killing 5,000 of our people, and wounding mentally and physically another couple of 100,000, and destroying an entire country, would help Iran go thorium, as we should also be doing with our nuclear power plants. The psychopaths the Netanyahus, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Santorums, the Romneys, all of these psychopaths that want to go to war won't have an excuse. Not that excuse, because Iran would not be able to use the waste materials from thorium to create a nuclear bomb. And I want one message here, again, why thorium is so much better. And again, this is from the Trends Journal. Thorium is 4 times more plentiful worldwide than uranium. It produces more than 100 to 300 times more energy that can be coaxed from an equal volume of uranium. It yields less than 1% of the toxic waste. In energy generation reaction, as much as 99% of the thorium can be consumed, compared to typically 2% or less of uranium that goes into generating plants. So
they went with that to tie us to the weapons system, and it just shows how this managed fascist economy is killing us, and they don't want to be friends with everybody. They want to use us to set up an abusive global corporatist world government that's destroying our own internal country and doing it with our money. It's incredible. How do we get rid of these crooks, Gerald?
Again, the only way I see is through direct democracy. We cannot have a gang in the United States of 535 telling us what to do. They're ruining our lives. Again, turn on the television tonight. Watch the great debate. And you see Santorum. I wonder, hey, how come Gingrich doesn't bring Callister out there when he's doing his debate? I mean, who ever saw a cheap act like that? You know, I just did a talk in Calgary. If I was married, the last thing I'd want was my wife standing next to me as I'm giving a speech with this plastic blonde helmet on and looking up at me adorably. How can anybody believe this crap?
Well, here's the good news. That woman looks even more plastic and snake-like than him. She's another social climber, kind of like Limbaugh's wife. So I think they're really, really, really good for each other. Gerald, I know you got to go, but do a few more minutes with us. I want to just hear about a few of the other trends you've got and jam in 2 quick questions. Back in 60 seconds. Coming up, we'll get into the TSA says you're a terrorist if you don't like them groping you. We're going to get into the attacks on Ron Paul and how they've been censoring him and engaged in fraud. They've been caught engaged in election fraud. I wanted to jam in just a few calls here with Gerald Celente. But first off, Gerald, what are some of the newest trend alerts you're putting out at trendsresearch.com?
Well, of course, the one on how to end the Iran conflict by going with thorium. But right now, we're really focused on what's going on with gold prices. There's been no Greek bailout. That's a lot of baloney. They just took on more debt. Watch this very closely. Get past the rhetoric over there about, you know, the Greeks don't like to work and all this kind of baloney. What's happening is, again, the first great war of the 21st century has begun. We're very concerned about what's going on in Iran. Watch oil prices. And again, I'm saying this only speaking for myself. I really caution people to watch what's going on in the sense that if there's some kind of a conflict, whether it's false flag or real, and they're setting us up for it with Iran, I firmly believe that they will either close Wall Street like they did when 9/11 happened, or they will call a bank holiday. And if you have your money in certificates of deposit and they close down Wall Street, you don't get anything. And I also believe they're going to use this, as I said, when all else fails, they get you into war. And that's going to be continued devaluation of the dollar. And when you look at what corn, what wheat, and what soybeans have done over the last year, they're on up average over 50%. When you look at Midwest farmland, it's gone up 25%. in the last year as the real estate market is diving. Put it together. It's the devaluation of the currency. So I'm just telling people, be prepared.
Well, they're now saying
is coming.
Exactly. Gerald, just what you said, they're now telling the Greeks, get ready for a bank holiday. Like you say, this is not the type of holiday you want to go on. Let's jam in one call for you here. Mike in California, you're on the air with the one, the only Gerald Celente.
Hey, Gerald. Gerald, definitely you said some important things that needed to be said. I'm glad that you said them. My question for you is, I'm calling from home for Ron Paul, for the Ron Paul campaign, but with the discouragement of the voter fraud at the delegate level, what is your opinion about those that would support Ron Paul for candidacy of president? What are the next action steps that we need to take? Do we need to go to the civic centers peacefully? And
do we pressure Ron Paul into third party once the fraud is unavoidable, that there's defrauding him? What's your final comments on that, Gerald?
I would absolutely go for a third party. A Ron Paul and a counterbalance. I'll tell you what I would think, for example, the kind of Ron Paul ticket, if it doesn't work here, would be someone like a Ralph Nader on the other side. Not necessarily Ralph Nader. I call it progressive libertarian. But
a unification ticket to bring everybody together. But exactly, if the Republicans have demonized him, cheated him, and are doing this, he doesn't owe it to the Republican Party or even ran as a senator.
You know, Alex, politics has become like a religion, like a fundamentalist religion. If you don't believe in Republicans or Democrats, you have no place here. And these politicians, when I talk about a fundamentalist religion, and me being a political atheist, I don't believe in their pope. And guess what? These senators are nothing more than phony little cardinals, and these congressmen are nothing more than little bishops. And
you're right. Incredible. Gerald, we're out of time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gerald. Look forward to having you back up soon. Thank you. We'll be back tonight, 7 o'clock, InfoWars Nightly News. I'll be filing more reports at InfoWars.com. Watch this space. Great job to the crew and all of you out there. Lord willing, we'll see you back tomorrow, 11 a.m. on the radio.
You don't need me to tell you that humanity is in a deep crisis. Everyone can feel it. We know a tectonic struggle is now taking place between the forces of freedom and those who love darkness, bondage, and enslavement. Yes, my friends, evil is rising. But take heart. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Recently, New World Order operative Hillary Clinton admitted they're losing the info war.
We are in an information war, and we are losing that war.
The globalists are scared. They've overreached. The future of the info war is in your hands. Join PrisonPlanet.tv. Download the thousands of special video reports, ebooks, and more, and get them out to everyone you know. Continue to spread the word about the broadcast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and every other globalist propaganda platform. We are going to use their system against them. The info war now goes into high gear.